بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Inshallah, today we will go over the basics of the rituals of Al-Hajj, inshallah. And as we all know, Al-Hajj is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. It is one of the most important obligations upon every Muslim who is able to do so, whether that Muslim is a male or a female. So it's something that we should all know the rulings regarding. Especially if you're going for Hajj this year, it's very important to know what you're doing before you go there. And even if you're not planning to go for Hajj this year, of course, every Muslim has in his or her heart the intention that one day in their life they will go, inshallah, for Hajj. So it's always good to know exactly what you're doing before you get over there. So because our time is limited, only about 2 hours or a little more than 2 hours, we are going to go over the practical application of how to do Hajj. We're not going to focus so much on the spiritual aspect of Hajj, but the practical aspect of how to do Hajj and physically what you are supposed to do, when you are supposed to do it, and all of the rulings regarding this, inshallah. So that's basically what we're going to go over today, inshallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this beneficial for everyone, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us all knowledge that benefits us, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to complete this important obligation in the right way, in a way that He is pleased with, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from all of us. So first of all, we will go over the different types of Hajj. There are 3 different types of Hajj that a person can perform. We have Hajj at-Tamattu', which is actually the most common form of Hajj that is performed by people who are coming from outside of the country. And that encompasses Umrah and Hajj. When a person is doing Hajj at-Tamattu', it means he is doing Umrah and then he is also doing Hajj. So it's basically 2 in 1, Umrah and Hajj. Hajj al-Qiran is also Umrah and Hajj. But the difference between Hajj at-Tamattu' and Hajj al-Qiran is that Hajj at-Tamattu', when you perform the Umrah and you finish your Umrah, you are allowed to get out of the state of Ihram. And then when Hajj starts, you put on the Ihram again. So it's 2 separate Ihrams for Hajj at-Tamattu'. Whereas Hajj Qiran, it's Umrah and Hajj, but you're doing the Umrah and the Hajj with the same Ihram. So that is the difference between at-Tamattu' and al-Qiran. And then we have Hajj al-Ifrad, which is the Hajj without Umrah. It's only Hajj. And Hajj Ifrad is the most common Hajj that is performed by people who are already living in Mecca. If someone is living in Mecca, then this is the easiest type of Hajj to perform. The day of when Hajj starts, you put on your Ihram and you go for Hajj. So these are the 3 different types of Hajj: Hajj al-Tamattu', Hajj al-Qiran, and Hajj al-Ifrad. And we'll go over the details of each one of these. But for the most of you, if you're going for Hajj, you will most likely be doing Hajj al-Tamattu', which is the Umrah, and then you take out your Ihram and then Hajj with a new Ihram again. And we'll go over the details of that, inshallah. So these are basically the 3 types of Hajj: Hajj al-Tamattu', Hajj al-Qiran, Hajj al-Ifrad. Which type is the best Hajj to do? There is some difference of opinion regarding this, but perhaps the strongest opinion is that Hajj al-Tamattu' is the best, because you are doing Umrah and you are doing Hajj and you are doing both separately. The Prophet ﷺ himself, he actually performed Hajj al-Qiran. Prophet ﷺ performed Hajj al-Qiran, but he said, later on he said, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done Hajj at-Tamattu'. So even though he did Hajj al-Qiran, he thought to himself, if he could do it again, he would have done Hajj at-Tamattu'. So the strongest opinion perhaps is that Hajj at-Tamattu' is the best type of Hajj to perform. But whichever one a person does, it all counts as Hajj, it all fulfills the obligation, and everything is good, inshallah. So let's go over some of the rules regarding Hajj at-Tamattu', inshallah. As we mentioned, Hajj at-Tamattu' refers to a person performing Umrah and Hajj with a separate Ihram for each. And don't worry, we will go into what exactly is Umrah and what exactly is Hajj and what is Ihram. All of those details will come, inshallah. So Hajj at-Tamattu' is Umrah and Hajj with separate Ihram for each. So the basic way that a person performs Hajj at-Tamattu' is that the person would wear his Ihram before he reaches the miqat, and we'll talk about what the miqat is as well. He will wear his Ihram, he will go to Mecca, he will perform tawaf around the Kaaba and sa'i between Safa and Marwa, during the Hajj months. This Umrah has to be done during what are known as the Ashhurul Hajj, the months of Hajj. The months of Hajj are Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, and the first few days of Dhul Hijjah. So if you want to do Hajj Tamattu', which is Umrah and Hajj, the Umrah of your Hajj, it has to be performed either in the month of Shawwal or the month of Dhul Qa'dah or within the first few days of the month of Dhul Hijjah. You cannot perform, for example, the Umrah of Hajj Tamattu' in Ramadan and then perform Hajj and say, this is my Hajj Tamattu'. No. The Umrah, the specific Umrah for Hajj Tamattu', it has to be performed either in the month of Shawwal, the month of Dhul Qa'dah, or the first few days of the month of Dhul Hijjah. Now, of course, you guys going for Hajj from here, you will be going, obviously, in one of those months. Most of the Hujjaj who leave internationally, they leave either in the month of Dhul Qa'dah or in the month of Dhul Hijjah. So if you perform your Umrah in those months, then you are fine, and your Umrah will count as the Umrah of Hajj Tamattu'. So you wear your Ihram, you perform Tawaf and Sa'i of Umrah during these Hajj months, Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, or the first few days of Dhul Hijjah. Once you perform your Umrah, meaning you do Tawaf and you do Sa'i between Safa and Marwa, and we'll go into the details of what is Tawaf and what is Sa'i as well, inshallah. You perform your Tawaf and Sa'i, you cut your hair, and you are out of Ihram. You can wear your regular clothes again. And then when Hajj starts on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, you will put on your Ihram again and you will go for Hajj. So you remove your Ihram and you wear it again for Hajj on the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. And then, of course, you will have to also do the Tawaf and Sa'i of Hajj on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. And also a Hadi is required. The Hadi means the sacrificial animal. So anyone who is doing Hajj Tamattu' or Hajj Qiran, they are required to sacrifice an animal as part of their Hajj. If a person is doing Hajj Ifrad, which is the Hajj which is only Hajj without Umrah, that I mentioned that most of the people who live in Mecca, they do Hajj Ifrad. In that type of Hajj, there is no sacrifice required. But for Hajj Tamattu', which the majority of you will probably be performing, or Hajj al-Qiran, which is the Hajj that the Prophet ﷺ performed, a Hadi is required in both of these, meaning a sacrifice is required in both of these types of Hajj. So that is a basic overview of Hajj Tamattu', but inshallah we'll go into more details over that in a minute, bi'idhnillah. Hajj al-Qiran, and this is the Hajj that the Prophet ﷺ actually performed in his lifetime. And it is Hajj and Umrah, just like Hajj Tamattu' is Hajj and Umrah. Hajj Qiran is also Hajj and Umrah, but it's with one Ihram. The Umrah and the Hajj are done with the same Ihram. You wear your Ihram and you make Tawaf of arrival. When you arrive in Mecca, you make Tawaf. And you could also do Sa'i between Safa and Marwa if you want at that time. When you enter Mecca, you do Tawaf. You have to do Tawaf. And you could also do Sa'i between Safa and Marwa at that time. You don't have to, but you could. If you do Sa'i with your original Tawaf, then when the time for Hajj comes and you have to do the Tawaf of Hajj, you do not have to do another Sa'i, because you already did your Sa'i with your original Tawaf. So the Sa'i, it counts. One Sa'i counts for both Umrah and Hajj. This is for Hajj al-Qiran. But in Hajj Tamattu', you have to have a separate Sa'i for Umrah and a separate Sa'i for Hajj. And that's the one most of you are going to be doing. So you'll have to have a separate Sa'i for Umrah and a separate Sa'i for Hajj in Tamattu'. But in Qiran, it's one Sa'i. And it counts both for Umrah and Hajj. And you have a choice when to do it. So when you enter Mecca, you perform your Tawaf. You could also do Sa'i after that. And then when the time for Hajj comes, you will have to do the Tawaf of Hajj, but you don't have to repeat your Sa'i, because that original Sa'i counts for that as well. Or you can come and you can do your original Tawaf when you enter Mecca and you don't do Sa'i. And then when the time for Hajj comes, you do your Tawaf of Hajj and then you do your Sa'i as well. You delay your Sa'i until after the Tawaf of Hajj. Both ways are okay. You can do it with the original Tawaf of Umrah, or you can do it with the Tawaf of Hajj, but you only have to do one Sa'i in Hajj al-Qiran. But there has to be two Tawafs. The Tawaf of Al-Qudum, the Tawaf of Umrah, and the Tawaf of Hajj. So there are two Tawafs in Hajj Tamattu' and two Tawafs in Hajj Qiran. But in Hajj Qiran, there's only one Sa'i instead of two Sa'is. So, like we said, if you desire, you can make Sa'i after Tawaf on arrival, which will be the Sa'i of Umrah and Hajj. Then on the day of Eid, on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, you will perform your Tawaf of Hajj. And if you didn't already do sa'i, then you will have to do sa'i. But if you already did sa'i when you entered Mecca, then you don't have to repeat it again. And of course, as we mentioned also in Hajj al-Qiran, a hadi is required, meaning you are required to sacrifice an animal as well. And the third type of Hajj, which is Hajj al-Ifrad, this is for those people who want to perform Hajj only without Umrah. It is performed exactly like Hajj Qiran. It's the same thing, right? But there is no hadi necessary. And it's only Hajj, so there is no Umrah involved in it. And it is usually the type of Hajj that is performed by the people of Mecca. But for the most part, most of you will not be doing this one. The majority of people, like I said, they do tamattu', and some people also do al-Qiran. But the majority do tamattu'. Inshallah, that's the easiest for people who are coming from outside of the country. And perhaps it is also the best. As we mentioned, the evidence, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ points to the likelihood that Hajj al-Tamattu' is the best type of Hajj that you can perform. So that is what is recommended to do. All right, so now before you go for Hajj, what are some of the recommended things that you should do while you're still here, before you embark on the journey? So you should cut your nails before going. Because once you are in ihram, then you're not going to be able to cut your nails. So if your nails are long, and then you put your ihram on, and then you see that your nails are long and you want to cut it, it's too late. You can't cut it. So it's better to cut it before you leave. Also, if you need to cut your hair, if you need to trim your mustache, any of this type of personal grooming that you want to do, you should do it before you go. Because once you are in a state of ihram, many of these things become impermissible, like cutting the nail, cutting the hair, trimming mustache. All of this stuff is haram when you are in a state of ihram. And that is one of the reasons why it is called ihram. Ihram, it comes from the same root as the word haram, right? So basically when you're in ihram, it makes certain things haram for you that are halal at other times. You know, in general, it's okay. You can cut your nails, you can trim your mustache, you can cut your hair. These are things that are generally halal. But when you are in ihram, it makes things that are usually halal, haram. So that is where the word ihram comes from. Same thing as when we pray salah. The first takbir that you do when you start salah, when you say Allahu Akbar, what is it called? It's called takbiratul ihram. Takbiratul ihram. Why is it called takbiratul ihram? Because once you make that takbir and you say Allahu Akbar, it means you have started your salah. And now it has made things that are usually halal, haram for you. In salah, there are many things that you're not allowed to do, that you're allowed to do outside of salah. You can eat and drink at a normal time, but when you're praying salah, you cannot eat or drink. You can talk in regular situations, like I'm talking to you right now. But in salah, once you say Allahu Akbar, you cannot talk to anyone. So that's why it's called takbiratul ihram, because it makes things haram in that situation that are usually in other situations are halal. So ihram, it's the same thing. Some things that are usually halal become haram when you are in a state of ihram. And included in those things are cutting your nails, cutting your hair, trimming the mustache. These are some of the things that you can't do once you're in ihram. So it's better that you make sure you take care of these things before you are in the state of ihram. All right, now we want to talk about the miqat. What is the miqat and what are the different miqats? The miqat is the location that you cannot cross over unless you are in a state of ihram. If you have the intention to go for umrah or you have the intention to go for hajj, you have to put on ihram. But a mistake that many people make is they wait all the way until they arrive in Saudi Arabia. They arrive in the airport in Jeddah, for example. You go on your flight and you arrive in Jeddah and you're still wearing your regular clothes. And then at the airport you put on your ihram. No, this is a mistake. Because you have to put on the ihram and make the intention before you reach the miqat. So the miqat, basically, there are certain points that you cannot cross without ihram if you have the intention to make hajj. So for example, let's say if Mecca is the center here, there are certain locations around. If you like draw a circle around Mecca, for example. So there will be certain locations on that circle which are the miqats, meaning you cannot pass this point without being in ihram if you have the intention to go further and to make hajj. And we'll talk about what are those miqats, where are they for different people coming from different parts of the world. So there's a miqat for people who are coming from the east. There's another miqat for people who are coming from the west. If you're coming from the north, there's another miqat. If you're coming from south, there's another miqat. So the miqat, basically, it means the location which you cannot cross that boundary unless you are in a state of ihram, if you have the intention to make umrah or hajj. So these are the different miqats, and I'll show you a map of these miqats as well, inshallah. But these are the names of the miqats. You have Dhul Hulayfa, and this is the miqat that is there by Medina. So this makes it actually easy for a lot of people who fly, instead of flying to Jeddah, they fly to Medina. If you fly to Medina, you can land in Medina with your regular clothes, no problem. Because there is a miqat that is right outside the boundary of Medina. So if you land in Medina, then it's easy. You put on your ihram in Medina, and then you go to Mecca from Medina, and you have made sure that you have fulfilled that requirement of putting on the ihram before crossing the miqat, because Dhul Hulayfa, it's there right by Medina. But if you came into Jeddah and then you put on your ihram, no, that means you have crossed the boundary of the ihram and you have made a mistake by doing that. So it's important that you make sure that you wear your ihram before you reach the miqat. So Dhul Hulayfa is the miqat that is at the direction of Medina. If someone is coming from Syria or from that direction of Syria, then that person's miqat would be Juhfa. If someone is coming from the direction of Iraq, that person's miqat would be Dhat Irq. If someone is coming from a Najd is like Riyadh and the northern part of Saudi Arabia, or the central part of Saudi Arabia, basically. If you're coming from that direction, then your miqat would be Qarn al-Manazil. And if you're coming from the direction of Yemen, which is south, then your miqat would be Yalamlam. So these are the 5 miqats, and they apply to the people who are coming from these places or from the people who come from the direction of these places, right? So just to show it visually a little bit, these are the different miqats. So if this is the haram, then you can say that, like we said, if this is Mecca, this is the haram, you can make basically a circle around it where the different miqats would be. So the miqat from the south, if you're coming from Yemen, your miqat would be Yalamlam. If you're coming from the east, then it would be Qarn al-Manazil. If you're coming from Iraq, it would be Dhat Irq. If you're coming from Medina, it would be Dhul Hulayfa. Right? So these are the different miqats. If you're coming from the west, it would be Al-Juhfa. So these are the different miqats, and you have to make sure that you wear your ihram and you make your intention for Umrah and Hajj before you cross this point. If you have crossed these points and you didn't wear your ihram and you wear your ihram after it, like for example, if you did it from Jeddah airport, then your Umrah and Hajj is still going to be valid. It's still going to be valid, but that is considered a mistake that you made. And to rectify that mistake, you would have to sacrifice an animal in order to correct that mistake. But your Umrah and Hajj would still be valid. All right, so before you reach the miqat and put on your ihram, what are some of the things that you should do? So when you're in the situation where you're ready to put on your ihram, these are the things that you can do. You can do this at the miqat, or you can do it before the miqat. Basically, when you're putting on your ihram, either at the miqat or before the miqat, it's fine. So it's good to take a ghusl, to clean your body and purify yourself, right? Before you put on your ihram, so you will be clean, inshallah. And of course, you will make your niyyah, you will make your intention for Umrah and Hajj. So basically, if you're doing Hajj tamattu', you would make the niyyah, labbaik Allahumma umratan mutamatti'an biha ila al-Hajj. So here you're making the intention to do Umrah and then to get out of Ihram and then to perform also Hajj. So you would say labbaik Allahumma umratan mutamatti'an biha ila al-Hajj. Here I am at your service, Ya Allah, to perform Umrah, and then I will get out of Ihram, and then after that I will put on my Ihram again and perform Hajj. So that's basically what that means. So you make your niyyah at that time. And then of course you will put on your Ihram. So now we want to talk about what is Ihram. What are the requirements for the clothing of Ihram? All right, so for men, Ihram, it is composed of 2 garments, 2 pieces of cloth, an upper garment and a lower garment. The upper garment is known as, in Arabic, it's called rida. It's an upper garment, and the lower garment is known as izar. So it's izar and rida for men, just 2 garments, an upper garment and a lower garment. And two plain pieces of cloth that are unshapen. There should be no shape in the cloth. It just should be a piece of cloth. And when I say unshapen, it means that, for example, it doesn't have a sleeve, right? A sleeve is a shape. The cloth is made into a shape to fit the contour of your body. Like the thobe I'm wearing, it is shaped in a way to fit the body. So pants, for example, they are shaped in a way that they fit your body. So basically the requirement for ihram, it should not have any shape. It should just be a piece of cloth in no shape. And you just put it on your body and you just wrap it on your body. Upper garment and a lower garment. It is sunnah and it is recommended that the ihram should be white. If someone's ihram is another color other than white, it's still acceptable and it's still considered ihram, but it is sunnah and it is recommended that the ihram, it should be white. And you will see pretty much, I think 100% of the people who wear ihram, they wear white. So alhamdulillah, that's not a problem. So this is the ihram for men. A lot of questions are asked regarding the ihram for men. What if the ihram, it has, for example, a pocket on it to keep, where you can keep your passport or keep some money or something like that, or keep your phone, if you have a pocket on the ihram that is attached to the ihram. This is fine. There is no problem in that. Or even if you want to wear a belt on the ihram to keep it tight so that it doesn't fall down, this is also okay. Some of the new ihrams, they actually have like a elastic sewn into the ihram so that it will stay on and it won't fall off instead of having to tie it. This is also okay, no problem. Because whatever is being done here, it is not shaping anything of your body. So all of these things are okay, inshallah, and there's no problem. As for women, there's no special ihram for women. So they can basically wear their normal clothes and it's fine. The only thing is that a woman should not wear gloves when she is in ihram, and she should not wear niqab. She should not wear the niqab. The niqab is the face veil. So she should not wear that either. But other than that, she can wear the regular clothing that she wears, and it doesn't have to be a specific color. It can be white or black or other colors. There's no problem in that, inshallah. So it's much more simple for women. All right, these are some of the things that are allowed in ihram. Like we mentioned, a few things that are not allowed. Like we cannot cut, once you're in ihram, you can't cut your nails. You can't cut your hair, right? But these are some of the things that are allowed in ihram. You can do this and there's no problem. You can use an umbrella, right? And the reason why we mention this is because some men are of the misconception that you're not allowed to use an umbrella because that is something that covers the head. When you're wearing ihram, a man, like we said, it's only two garments, the upper garment and the lower garment. So you cannot wear a hat, you cannot wear a cap on your head. But an umbrella, it's not a cap, that's fine. You can use an umbrella if it's raining or if it's very sunny and hot, which it probably will be if you're going this time, right? So you can use an umbrella to protect yourself from the sun, and there's no problem in that because that is not considered a head covering. Some people have such a misconception that you cannot put anything above your head, that you will see some of the transportation buses from some different countries. If you go there, you will see that they actually rip the roof off the bus. There's no roof on the bus, it's ripped off, and they will sit in those buses. And you're wondering to yourself, why is there no roof on this bus? And you can see that it was there, but it was ripped off. It was actually taken off. And the reason why they did that is because no, we're in ihram and we cannot have anything above our head. So they actually go to that extreme. But this is wrong. This is wrong. It doesn't mean that you can't have anything above your head. It just means you are not supposed to put on a head covering on your head. So, for example, I would not be allowed to wear a cap like this in ihram. That's not allowed. But having an umbrella, or going in a car or a bus that has a roof, or sitting in a tent that has a roof, these things are all fine. There's no problem in that, inshallah. You can change your ihram. There's no problem. If your ihram gets dirty or something, you're going to be in that ihram for 3 days. On the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, and the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, for part of the day at least. So about 2 to 3 days you're going to be in ihram. So there's a big possibility that it might get dirty during that time, right? So if you have an extra set of ihram and you want to change it, that's fine. There's no problem in doing that. You can take ghusl while you're in ihram. If you want to take a bath or you want to take a shower, you want to clean yourself, that's fine. As long as you don't trim any hair from your body. then it's fine. You can take a bath, you can take a shower. These are things that are totally fine. If you want to wash your ihram and then reuse it again, this is also fine. You can wash your face, you can do regular activities of cleanliness. This is fine. The only thing is, don't cut your hair, don't trim your mustache, don't peel skin off of your body. These are the things that you have to avoid. And when we're talking about washing your face or washing your hands or whatever, you should avoid any type of perfume. This is also an important thing. Don't use anything that is scented. And you will find there, because alhamdulillah, they have shops there that accommodate people who are constantly coming for Umrah and Hajj. You will find unscented soap. You will find unscented toothpaste. You will find these things there. It's easy. So these are the types of things you should use, because you're not supposed to put on any perfume while you are in a state of ihram. All right. Also, it is permitted to use shade if necessary. Like we mentioned, the umbrella, this is fine, or any other type of shade that you need to use, it's fine. You can use a belt on your ihram. You can use a wallet. You can attach a pouch for your money and your papers and stuff like that onto your ihram. This is all fine. You can wear slippers. This is okay, right? These are the things that are permissible in ihram. Also, if you need to take an injection while you're in a state of ihram, this is fine. If someone is diabetic, for example, and they're going for Hajj or Umrah and they need to take insulin or whatever, it's fine. Or any other type of injection, it is fine to take. Taking your regular medications, yes, you can take it, and you should take it, of course, because you don't want to fall sick while you are there in Hajj. And using a miswak, this is something that is good and recommended to do while you are in ihram. These are things that are all allowed and they are all permissible. Also, you can use a blanket. So sometimes, especially in Muzdalifah, and we'll talk about Muzdalifah in a minute, inshallah. Muzdalifah doesn't have any tents, and you're going to have to spend one night there. Mina has tents and Arafat has tents, but Muzdalifah is just open land, right? So, and you're going to spend the night there. So usually in the night it gets cold. So some people, they will not put on a blanket, even though they're freezing cold. They're not going to put on a blanket because they think, oh, we can't put on a blanket in the ihram. No, that's incorrect. You are allowed to use a blanket, no problem. But when you are using the blanket, just don't cover your head. You can use a blanket, but don't cover your head. It is allowed to kill harmful types of animals or insects. If there's a scorpion or a snake, inshallah, there's nothing like that. Don't worry, don't get scared. They keep it very clean and everything. But hypothetically, if there was a dangerous type of insect or an animal and you needed to kill it, then it would be permissible to do that even if you are in ihram. So usually when you're in ihram, you're not allowed to kill anything, right? But if there is something that is dangerous or poisonous or could be harmful, then there is an exception to that and you can kill it. And like we mentioned, you can take a ghusl, you can take a shower. This is permissible. So these are some of the examples of things that are allowed, that are permissible when you are in a state of ihram. Now we'll go to some of the things that are not allowed in a state of ihram. All right? If someone is married and you go with your wife, for example, for Hajj, you cannot have any type of intimate spousal contact with your spouse during Hajj. This is off limits, right? Even talking in such a way, like a husband and a wife talk with each other, with intimate or sensual type of talk, not allowed during Hajj, right? You're not thinking of that type of thing at all. You're here for ibadah, you're here to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so you're not allowed, even with your wife, you're not allowed to speak in this type of a way. Wicked conduct in general, and this is of course haram at any time, to act in a way that is inappropriate and wickedly and doing sins and disobedience. This is all haram anyways at any time, but it's even worse if you are doing it while you are at Hajj, while you are in ihram. So doing a sin or disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bad in any place and any time. But if you are doing it in a place that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a special holiness to, then that makes the sin even worse. For example, if somebody did a sin outside on the street, that's haram. But if someone did the same sin here inside the masjid, then it's even worse. It's more haram. It's a bigger sin. So the same thing applies. Doing a sin is haram at any time, but if you're doing a sin while you're in ihram, while you're making hajj, then that makes it even worse. So be very careful about these type of things. No fighting or arguments. And this is a very important point because people's patience will be tested during hajj. Imagine, look, you're in a place with 3 million other people. It's a limited space, it's very crowded, it's hot. You have a lot of walking to do. Everyone is tired. You don't have much of an arrangement even to lie down or sleep. So everyone is going to be, running on just a few hours of sleep. And even when they are able to sleep, it's not going to be a very comfortable sleep. So, everyone is kind of on edge. But don't let that make you lose your temper or lose your patience and start arguing with people and fighting with people. No. This is a test of your patience. Right when you get to the airport, there will be so many people there. It's going to take you a long time to get out of the airport even. And sometimes you feel that the officials, they really don't care and they're taking their time and they're sipping their tea and everything while you're waiting. Just be calm, relax. All of this is ajr from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. You have made a sacrifice to go for Hajj. Don't waste the reward by doing petty things like this. Just think of the bigger picture. You're going for Hajj, you're doing this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just allow these things, Don't let these little things bother you, and be patient with whatever happens, inshallah. And you will get the reward from that from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So don't fight, don't argue with people. Sometimes even to go to the bathroom, even if you need to go to the bathroom, you'll have to wait in a line maybe for 1 hour to get into the bathroom. And then once you're in the bathroom, you waited for 1 hour, now you're in the bathroom. After like 30 seconds, you hear somebody knocking the door to get out, get out, get out. Right? Okay, just be patient. Don't get mad, don't get angry. Just remember that you're doing this for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's only for a limited time, and your goal is to get the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So keep that prize in your mind. Know what your ultimate goal is and work towards that. All right, and as we mentioned, cutting of hair is not allowed when you're in ihram, and clipping of nails is not allowed when you're in ihram. And of course, this applies to men and also to women. For men, you are not allowed to wear shaped clothes. So wearing like a shirt or wearing a pant, anything that has a shape that shapes the contours of your body, this is something that is not allowed. A man cannot wear a turban or any type of cap on his head. So like what I'm wearing, for example, right now, this would not be allowed in ihram. Men cannot wear socks. Men should not wear footwear that covers the ankle. So wearing like a regular slippers or sandals, right? Flip-flops, this is okay. But as for wearing a regular shoe that covers your ankles, this is something that would not be allowed. Use of perfume or perfumed cloth. This is something that is not allowed during the state of ihram. This applies to men and women. So both men and women are not allowed to use any type of perfume during ihram. Any talk that is related to marriage, okay? So a single guy goes for ihram and he sees someone in his group that he's interested in maybe talking to for marriage. This is not the time for that. This is not the time for that. So no talk about marriage or nothing like that during Hajj. And of course, covering of the face or the head is something that is not allowed during the state of ihram as well. So these are some of the things that are not allowed during ihram. All right, now let's get to the talbiyah. The talbiyah is the invocation that we say when we wear our ihram. And it's something that you will hear over and over and over again. Right? So you should all memorize this one. You should all memorize this one before going, because you'll have to say it a lot. So this is labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wal ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. This is called the talbiyah. And you will say this once you put on your ihram. You will start saying this until you enter the haram. So what it means is, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, here I am, O Allah, here I am. Here I am, no partner do you have, here I am. Verily all praise is yours, and every bounty is from you, and all the dominion is yours, no partner do you have. So basically, this talbiyah is a call of tawheed. You are saying, Ya Allah, here I am for you. I came here to worship you, Ya Allah, and you are the owner of everything, and all blessings come from you, and you have no partner. So it is a very sincere call of tawheed. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wal ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. This is very important. Everyone, before going for Umrah or Hajj, you have to memorize this. You have to memorize this. All right? So the talbiyah should be recited intensively, recited constantly. Men recite it loudly, and women recite it softly. And basically it is the reply to Allah's call given by Ibrahim alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He ordered Ibrahim alayhi salam. When Ibrahim alayhi salam built the Kaaba, then Allah ordered Ibrahim alayhi salam, now you built the Kaaba, you built the house of Allah, now call the people to come to this house. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Ibrahim alayhi salam, وَأَذِّن فِي النَّاسِ بِالْحَجِّ. Call the people for Hajj. So Ibrahim alayhi salam, he called the people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed that call to be heard by the people. So this is the answer to that call. We continue to answer that call even today by saying, Ya Allah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wal ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. Here I am. Labbaik means here I am, Ya Allah. I am answering this call. Here I am. All right, so memorize that before you go. You keep reciting the talbiyah from the point where you put on the ihram, on the airplane all the way. If you landed in Medina, for example, and then when you're ready to go, you put on your ihram, you're going in the bus or the car to Mecca, you will be saying this the whole time on your way to Mecca. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik, labbaik la sharika laka labbaik, innal hamda wal ni'mata laka wal mulk la sharika lak. So basically it starts from when you put on your ihram all the way until you come to Mecca and enter al-Masjid al-Haram. Then it will stop. All right. So you have put on your ihram, you have started making the talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik. Now you have finally reached Mecca and you're ready to start your umrah, inshallah. You have reached Mecca, you're ready to start your umrah, and you're going to enter the haram. You're going to enter al-Masjid al-Haram. The dua when you enter al-Masjid al-Haram, or any masjid, even if you enter this masjid or any masjid, this is the dua that you make. Allahumma ftah li abwaba rahmatik. So you enter the haram and you say this dua. Allahumma ftah li abwaba rahmatik. It means, oh Allah, open the doors of your mercy for me. So you enter the masjid and you make this dua, and then you will go to the Kaaba and you will start your tawaf of Umrah, inshallah. So let's have a little bit overview of the Kaaba and what are the different corners of the Kaaba called. All right. So these are the different corners we have of the Kaaba. It's a cube-shaped building, right? So obviously it has 4 corners. The first corner where you will start your tawaf from, actually, it is called the corner of Al-Hajar Al-Aswad. Al-Hajar Al-Aswad, that is the black stone. And that is the starting point of your tawaf. The next corner is called Rukun Iraq, because that corner, it points towards the direction of Iraq. And then the third corner is called Rukun Ash-Sham, the corner of Ash-Sham, because that corner, it points towards the direction of Ash-Sham, Syria. And then you have the last corner is called Rukun Al-Yamani. It's the Yemeni corner because it goes towards the direction, or it points towards the direction of Yemen. So these are the 4 corners of the Kaaba, and you will start your tawaf, of course, with the corner where the Hajar al-Aswad, or the black stone, is encased. All right. So basically this is called Al-Hajar al-Aswad. It's a black stone, and this is the starting point of your tawaf. All right. Also, you will see this golden colored station here, right, in front of the door of the Kaaba, between the Hajar al-Aswad and the Rukun of Iraq. You will see this station here in the back. This is called Maqam Ibrahim. This is called Maqam Ibrahim. And this is where Ibrahim alayhi salam, actually, he used to stand here while he was constructing the Kaaba, to make sure everything is straight. So basically he's building the Kaaba, right? He starts from the ground and he keeps building it up and up and up. And every now and then he would go back and he would stand in this location and he would look to make sure that everything is straight. So this location is called Maqam Ibrahim, or the station of Ibrahim. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَاتَّخِذُوا مِن مَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُصَلَّى, and take the station of Ibrahim, Maqam Ibrahim, as a place of prayer, as a musalla. So we'll get to the 2 rakats that you should pray there, if possible, in a minute, inshallah. So this is known as Maqam Ibrahim. All right. Now this area right here, you will see this semicircle type of area here. This is known as Hijr Ismail, also known as the Hatim. And it's very important to recognize this and know this, because it is actually considered as part of the Kaaba. It is actually considered as part of the Kaaba. And if you go inside here, if you go inside this semicircle, it means you are inside the Kaaba. You are actually inside the Kaaba. And that is because when Ibrahim alayhi salam built the Kaaba, it was actually the cube structure, it was bigger than what we see today. And it actually, the cube structure encompassed this area as well. It actually did encompass this area as well. But then, during the time of the Quraysh, when they wanted to rebuild the Kaaba, because the structure had become weak, they actually broke down the Kaaba and they rebuilt it again. And when they rebuilt it again, they ran out of money. So they were not able to build it to the specifications that Ibrahim alayhi salam built it at, because they ran out of money. So they had to make it a little shorter. But they kept this area here so that the people would know that this was actually part of the Kaaba as well. And why is it important for us to know that today? Because when you're making tawaf of the Kaaba, that is considered part of the Kaaba. So when you're going around the Kaaba, you must go around this, because that is actually part of the Kaaba of Ibrahim alayhi salam. If someone makes tawaf and they go inside and they only circumambulate around the cube and they skip this semicircle, they don't go around the semicircle, but they go inside and they just go around the cube, then their tawaf is not valid, because you didn't actually make tawaf around the whole original Kaaba. So it's very important. One good effect of this is, alhamdulillah, everyone gets a chance to go and pray inside the Kaaba. If you want to pray 2 rakats and go inside the Kaaba, it's open. You can go there and you can pray. If it was as it originally was, then nobody would get a chance to pray inside the Kaaba, except when they open it 1 time or 2 times a year, and then only dignitaries and ambassadors and VIPs are allowed to go in there, right? But now this is an opportunity for everyone to go and pray in the Kaaba if they get a chance. But when you're making tawaf, be very careful. Do not go inside there. You must go around it for your tawaf to be considered valid. All right? The area where you will be making tawaf, meaning going around the Kaaba, it is called the mataf. The mataf, it means the place of tawaf, the place of circumambulation around the Kaaba. This is called the mataf. And as you can see from the diagram here in the picture, the direction in which you go around the Kaaba should be on your left side. The Kaaba should be on your left side. So you go in this direction. You start from the Hajj al-Aswad, then you go around, and then you go all the way around, and when you reach the Hajj al-Aswad again, that counts as one circumambulation. All right, and you have to do that 7 times for your tawaf. All right, and we'll get into the details of the tawaf, inshallah, in a minute. All right, and like we mentioned, after you finish your tawaf, you are recommended, if you can, to pray 2 rak'ats of salah behind or at Maqam Ibrahim, if you're able to do so. And we'll get to the details of that in a minute, inshallah. But now let's look at this diagram of the Haram. So this is basically Al-Masjid Al-Haram. This is how it looks, right? So this square here is the Kaaba. So you will enter the Masjid al-Haram, and when you see the Kaaba, you will start your tawaf at the Hajar al-Aswad. You will start at the black stone, and you will go around the Kaaba. All right, so how do you know? How do you know when you are in line with the black stone to start your tawaf? You will see a green light. There's like a green tube light that you will see on your right side. So basically, when you want to start your tawaf, let's say this is the corner where is the black stone. So my left shoulder should be in line with the black stone. And my right shoulder, if I look in this direction, I will see a green light. So that green light signifies to me that yes, I have reached the Hajar al-Aswad and I can start my tawaf. So that is how you know where exactly you will start your tawaf. And then of course you will go around 7 times, and we'll talk about what you do during those 7 circuits as well. What are you supposed to say? What are you supposed to read? We'll go over that in a minute, inshallah. After you finish tawaf, then it is recommended to pray 2 rak'ats right here. This is the Maqam Ibrahim, the station of Ibrahim alayhi salam, if you find a place there. And to be honest with you, it is very unlikely that you will find any place to pray there, especially if you're going for Hajj. It's so crowded, it will be almost impossible to find a place to pray here, probably. So if you don't find a place to pray there, no problem. You can pray those 2 rak'ats anywhere in the Haram, and it is fine. And after you finish tawaf, of course, then you will do sa'i. That means running between the 2 mountains of Safa and Marwa 7 times. right? And we'll get into the details of that in a minute, inshallah. But this is just basically an overview of the haram and the actions that you have to do over here. All right, so now let's talk about Umrah. You're going for Hajj Tamattu', so the first thing that you do once you put on your ihram and you reach Mecca is Umrah. So how do you perform Umrah? All right, so once you enter the Haram, you enter Al-Masjid Al-Haram, the first time you see the Kaaba, you see the actual house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is a good time to make dua. And inshallah, this is a time that your dua will be accepted bi'idhnillah. The first time you see the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is recommended is that when you enter the masjid, let me go back to that diagram again to show you. So basically, the Kaaba is in the middle of the whole Masjid al-Haram. So there are a number of gates to enter the masjid. You'll find gates everywhere, all around here. There are doors, there are entrances to go into al-Masjid al-Haram. So basically, when you enter any one of those gates, whichever gate you enter, it is recommended that you enter with your head down. Because if you enter with your face looking straight, it is likely that you might see a glimpse of the Kaaba. You might see, part of the Kaaba, but not the whole thing, because it's still further down. You still have to walk a lot before you actually get into the open area. So it's recommended when you get in, enter the masjid and don't look up, just try to look down. When you actually enter this area, which is an open area, then you will have an unobstructed view of the Kaaba. So walk until you reach the open area, which is the mataf, the tawaf area. Once you reach there, then you look up, then you will see the whole Kaaba completely unobstructed. So this is what's recommended, inshallah. So instead of getting a little glimpse here and there, you want your first view to be a complete, beautiful view of the whole Kaaba. And then you just stand there, you make dua as long as you want. And don't rush yourself. Even if you want to take 10, 15 minutes, make a good dua, inshallah. And hopefully that's a time that your dua will be accepted bi'idhnillah. All right, so dua at the first side of the Kaaba. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever you want, for yourself, for your family, your needs for this world, for the hereafter. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for everything that you can think about. All right. So once you enter, you will perform your Umrah. So Umrah starts with Tawaf. Tawaf, meaning the circumambulation of the Kaaba 7 times. You will go around the Kaaba 7 times, and wudu is required. Just like you have to have wudu, you have to be in a state of ablution when you pray, you also have to be in a state of ablution when you are performing tawaf. So wudu is required. All right, so let's go back to the image here, inshallah, and we'll talk about tawaf. So this is your starting point. You start at Al-Hajar Al-Aswad, the black stone. It should be in line with your left shoulder, and you'll see the green light towards your right. This is where you start your tawaf. Right? So this is basically an image of it. So Al-Hajar Al-Aswad is here, the black stone, and the green light you will see on your right side. So that's where you know that it's time to start my tawaf. All right. So how do you do your tawaf? Begin with your body in line with the black stone. Your left shoulder should be in line with the black stone. And once you're in that position, now you're ready to start tawaf. You will lift your right hand. You will lift your right hand towards the black stone, and you will say, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. Don't lift 2 hands, don't kiss your hands, no. Just lift your right hand and say, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and you're ready to start your tawaf. And then you start moving. Okay, you will recite Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and you will start. You move counterclockwise with the Kaaba on your left. And you will go around, and you will go around all the way until you come back to the black stone again. That means you have completed 1. And you have to do a total of 7 like this. All right, and like as we mentioned, you start from Hajar al-Aswad, and you go all the way around. All the way around, and once you reach Hajar al-Aswad again, you have completed 1. Make sure you don't do this. Go inside here. No. That means your tawaf will be invalid. It won't count. So make sure you go around the Hijr Ismail. And then once you reach Hajj al-Aswad again, you have completed 1. Do that again and again and again until you have done a total of 7. So basically, so this is what you're doing. So that's 1, right? And you'll keep doing it. Sorry. Yes. So that's how you do tawaf, like this. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So once you do that, you have finished your tawaf. That's exactly how you do it. All right, and as we mentioned, during circumambulation, during tawaf, ensure that you move outside the area of hatim. You go around that semicircle, not inside of it. And this completes 1 shawt. So 1 round is called a shawt. So you do 1 shawt, then 2 shawts, and then 3, and it'll become, at the end, a total of 7. All right, now for men, this is specifically for men here, these 2 rules here. The first 3 shawt, like we said, there's a total of 7 times you go around. For men only, not for women, but for men, the first 3 rounds that you take, it should be not a regular walk, but it should be like a brisk type of walk, like a strong walk for the first 3. And this is called ramal for the first 3 rounds. And then the last 4 is just a regular walk. And for men, when you're in ihram and you're making your tawaf, your right shoulder should be exposed. So the upper garment that you have, keep it under your right armpit so that your right shoulder is open, it's exposed. And men should do this, of course, for all 7 rounds. The shoulder should be exposed for all 7 rounds. But as for the ramal, meaning the brisk type of walking, this is only for the first 3 rounds of your tawaf. Okay, so this applies only to men, does not apply to women. All right, some of the rules of tawaf. You must be in a state of wudu. Wudu is a requirement for your tawaf to be valid, just like it is a requirement for your salah to be valid. Don't overlook your starting point. So make sure that you start in the right position. You start with your left shoulder in line with the black stone. What do you say in tawaf? You praise Allah. You praise Allah, you make dua, you can recite Quran. So basically you do dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever is easy for you. You can make any dua that you want. You can read Quran, whatever surahs you have memorized, that's fine. You can do subhanallah, alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar, any type of dhikr that you want of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is all fine during tawaf. There is a special dua to say during the time of your tawaf between the Yemeni corner and the black stone. So every round of those 7 rounds, remember we said there are these 4 corners, right? So when you're at the corner, when you have reached the Yemeni corner, on your way back to the black stone, you should recite this dua. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. So basically, let me just show you the diagram again. Yeah, okay, so basically, so you start your tawaf from here, from the Hajj al-Aswad, and you go around. When you reach the Yemeni corner, on the way from the Yemeni corner back to the black stone, during this part of your tawaf, from here to here, then that is when you should recite رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. In each round of those 7 rounds, right? So memorize this dua as well. And I'm sure most of you have memorized this dua. It's one of the most common duas that you will hear. رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Right. And of course the meaning of that dua, O our Lord, grant us the best in this life and the best in the next life, and protect us from the punishment of the fire. All right. Some special notes regarding tawaf. It is sunnah to complete the tawaf continuously. Meaning once you started, don't just take a break and then continue on later. No, once you start, finish the whole thing. Of course, there are certain situations where you may have to stop in the middle, right? For example, if the time for salah comes while you're making tawaf, the iqamah for the prayer is called, then of course you have to stop, you pray, and then you can continue. But in general, if you can, try to finish all the 7 without any interruption. Don't push anyone while in tawaf. Yes, very important point. there are literally going to be millions of people there at the same time, right? So you're going to be extremely cramped. It is inevitable that someone is going to step on your foot, someone is going to accidentally push you. These things are going to happen for sure. Don't let it bother you. You know, sometimes it's so crowded to the extent that perhaps your feet won't even be touching the ground. You'll be automatically making tawaf because you'll be carried around by the people around you. That's how tight it is. So just be prepared for this type of a thing. It happens, right? If somebody accidentally steps on your foot, somebody accidentally pushes you, anything like this happens, let it go. Let it go. And don't get angry and push other people as well, right? This is something that can really mess up the reward of your Hajj. So be careful about these things. All right, keep your possessions safe. If you have anything with you, make sure that it is tight on you, okay? And it's not going to fall down. If something falls down, don't pick it up. Because then, you know, if it's so crowded, if you bend down to pick something up, you could fall down and you could be trampled. And it has happened before. People, you know, in the old days when the jamarat, when the stoning of the pillars, when it used to be very crowded, sometimes a person might drop something and he might try to pick it up and then he would not be able to get back up again. People could get trampled. They could, you know, in worst case scenario, a person can get killed even because of the crowd. So be very careful about this. Make sure that everything is safe and everything is tightly attached to you. If you drop something, it's better not to pick it up because that can be a very dangerous situation. And do not rush into the black stone. You know, the black stone, Al-Hajar Al-Aswad, it is sunnah. It is sunnah to go and kiss it if you can. If you can actually go to it and kiss it, it's sunnah to do so. But some people, in order to do this sunnah, which is not even wajib, it's not obligatory, some people, in order to accomplish this sunnah, they will do things that are haram. Meaning they will push people out of the way, they will throw people out of the way, and they will force themselves to get a chance to kiss that stone. So does it make sense logically even? You're doing something, in order to do something that's not even obligatory, it's not wajib. In order to do something that is not obligatory, you are willing to do something that is haram in order to do that? Where is the thinking of the people in doing such a thing, right? If it's easy, if you see that it's not crowded and you can easily go and kiss it without harming anyone or without you yourself being harmed, yeah, go ahead and do it. But if not, then don't do it. You don't have to do it. So be careful about this. All right, during tawaf, is it allowed to talk in tawaf? Yeah, it's allowed to talk if you need to, right? If, for example, you're with someone in your group and you don't remember, is this my third round or is it my fourth? So you ask your friend, is this our third one or is it our fourth? That's okay. This is a type of talk that's fine during tawaf. But talking about idle things, talking about the latest movie or entertainment and this type of thing, no. This is something that should definitely be avoided during tawaf. So don't talk nonsense talk. Don't talk any type of talk that's not beneficial. If there's a necessary talk, then yes, it is permissible. You should stop tawaf when the obligatory prayers begin, and after the prayers, continue from where you stopped. If it happens to be you're making tawaf and the time for the salah comes, the time for the iqamah comes, then you stop and you make your prayer with the jama'ah, and then you continue after that. Don't stop at the adhan. If the adhan is being called, continue. And even after the adhan, continue. But when the iqamah is called and the salah is about to start, then you stop and you pray. But don't stop it for the sunnah prayers before the iqamah, but go all the way up to the iqamah, and then when the iqamah is called, pray your prayers, and then continue after the salah is over. All right, you may perform tawaf at different floors if it is necessary. So the main floor, the mataf, which is the ground level of the Kaaba, that's where, you know, most people usually want to do the tawaf. It is possible to do tawaf on the second level and also on the roof of the haram as well. And it's permissible to do that. It's okay. But personally, I would not recommend anyone to do that because the distance that you will have to cover, it's too much. It's really too much. One time I did that, and then I said to myself, I'm never going to do this again, right? Because even though there's not much of a crowd, you're not going to be so squished in with other people. The distance is so much. You know, one round, it feels like, you know, each round is like a mile, it feels like, right? So it'll just take too long, and you'll tire yourself out. But if you're on the ground floor, you get a better feeling, first of all, because the Kaaba is right there. You really feel like you're doing tawaf because you can see the Kaaba. And even though you're going to be going much slower, you'll probably still finish at around the same time because the distance or the diameter of the circle that you're making is much smaller. So that's a better thing to do. So that's recommended. If you can do it on the ground floor, it's better, inshallah. All right. Oh yeah, this is an important point too. If you forget the number of tawaf, sometimes you're doing tawaf, you do 1, 2, 3. Then after you finish 3, you're not sure. Did I do 2 or did I do 3? Or sometimes maybe you did 4, but you're not sure. Did I do 3 or did I do 4? So if you have this type of a doubt, then always assume that you did the lower number. Always assume that you did the lower number. So if your doubt is, okay, is it 2 or 3? Assume 2. If your doubt is 3 or 4, assume 3. So always assume the lower number, because that way, then for sure you are going to do 7. And the worst case scenario, if you're wrong, you'll just do 1 extra. All right? But you will have done your 7. But if you assume the higher number and you really did the lower number, then there is a possibility that you will only do 6. And if you only did 6, your tawaf is not valid. Right? So always assume the lower number. Worst case scenario that happens, you did an extra number. Okay. But you still did your 7 and you're fine, inshallah. After you finish your tawaf, it is sunnah to go to that maqam Ibrahim, the station of Ibrahim, and pray 2 rak'ats there, if you're able to do so. Again, if you're not able to do so because it's too crowded, you can pray those 2 rak'ats anywhere in the haram. It's fine. It is advisable to recite in these 2 rak'ats. In the first rak'ah, recite Surah Al-Kafirun, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ. And in the second rak'ah, recite Surah Al-Ikhlas, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. So this is what is recommended to recite in these 2 rak'at. If you can do it by Maqam Ibrahim, that's great. If not, no problem. Do it anywhere in the haram. All right, regarding Maqam Ibrahim, due to the crowd, you are permitted to pray in any part of the masjid. Do not interrupt a haji or lead him to wrong by forcing yourself to pray at Maqam Ibrahim. Again, like we said, it's sunnah to pray there. It is not obligatory. So don't do something haram just in order to do something that is sunnah. So pushing someone out of the way so that you can get a place, or being violent with people, no. There is no excuse to do this type of a thing. All right, so once you did that, you finish your tawaf, and you finished your 2 rakats of Maqam Ibrahim, then the next step will be to make sa'i. Sa'i is between Safa and Marwa. So these are 2 mountains that are right there nearby the haram, that you will be going back and forth in between them. So you have to perform sa'i after you complete your tawaf. Tawaf is first and sa'i follows that. You start from the mountain of Safa and you face the Kaaba, and you can recite the ayah of Safa and Marwa that you find in Surah Al-Baqarah, Inna as-Safa wal-Marwata min sha'airillah. The Prophet ﷺ, he started his sa'i from Safa, and he recited this ayah, Inna as-Safa wal-Marwata min sha'airillah, and he said, Abda'u bima bada Allahu bih. I will start with which Allah started with. Allah started with Safa. When he mentioned these 2 mountains, he said, Inna as-Safa wal-Marwa. So he mentioned Safa first, then he mentioned Marwa. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I will also start with what Allah started with. So he starts sa'i from Safa, not from Marwa. So you start from Safa, you can recite this ayah. You can face the Kaaba before you start, and you can make dua, whatever dua you want to make, inshallah. And then you will start your sa'i. Sa'i means going between these 2 mountains, Safa and Marwa. So Safa to Marwa is 1, and Marwa back to Safa is 2, and then Safa back to Marwa is 3, Marwa back to Safa is 4, back to Marwa is 5, back to Safa is 6, and back to Marwa is 7. So you will end at Marwa. All right. So when you start your sa'i and you're going between Safa and Marwa, you will see on the ceiling 2 green lights. You will see 2 green lights. So you're going between Safa and Marwa. You're walking, regular walk. Then you see the first green light. That means you start jogging briskly. And then when you see the second green light, it means you stop. You don't stop, but you stop that jog and you start walking in a regular way again. Again, this applies only to men, does not apply to women. Women just get to walk the whole way. It's easier, right? But for men, when you are in between those 2 green lights, make it a jog between those 2 lights. Both ways. When you're going from Safa to Marwa, you see the green light, you start running. when you see the second green light, you stop running and you continue with a regular walk. When you're coming back from Marwa back to Safa, same thing. When you see the green light, start running. When you see the other green light, you make it back to a regular walk again. So in every trip between Safa and Marwa, make sure that you do this. All right, so this is a basic overview of how it looks, right? This is called the mas'a. The mas'a means the place of sa'i. So you'll see it has two lanes actually. One lane for people going between Safa and Marwa, and another lane from people going from Marwa to Safa, so that the people, they're not running into each other and stuff. You have separate lanes for both sides. All right, so basically this is it, right? Just to clarify what we mean, that it's not the round trip that counts as one, but it's each individual trip that counts as one. So you'll start at Safa, you go to Marwa, that's one. Then Marwa back to Safa, it's two. Back to Marwa is three. Back to Safa is four. Back to Marwa is five. Back to Safa is six. And finally you will end with number 7 at Marwa. Okay, so once you finish that, you did your tawaf, you prayed your 2 rak'ats at Maqam Ibrahim, now you did your sa'i between Safa and Marwa, now you're basically finished with the actual acts of Umrah, except for the last thing you need to do is halq or qasr. Meaning you need to cut your hair, get a haircut, or for men, what is the better thing to do, what is more highly recommended is to shave all of your hair off. This is called halq. If you don't want to shave all of your hair, there's no problem. You can just get a regular haircut, cut some hair from everywhere on your head, and that will get you out of ihram. For women, they just need to cut a small amount of their hair, inshallah, and that covers it. So if basically women, what they're supposed to do, just take their hair all the way in the front and just take like maybe 1 fingernail's length and cut it off, and they're fine, inshallah. And then you get out of ihram. So now you're out of ihram for umrah. You can wear your regular clothes, you can, if you need to cut your hair, cut your nails, whatever you need to do, you can use perfume again, you can do all of that stuff until Hajj starts. And then when the day of Hajj comes, you will have to put on your ihram again, and then those restrictions of ihram will apply once again. All right, so now we will talk about Hajj. Hajj starts on the 8th day of Dhul Hijjah. So on that 8th day of Dhul Hijjah, you will need to put on your ihram again. You don't need to go back to the miqat or anything like that. No, you already came from the miqat, you're fine now. Now on the day of Hajj, just put on your ihram from your hotel or wherever you're staying, you're good. On the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, this is called Yawmut Tarwiyah. What should you do on this day? These are some of the things that you should do on the first day of Hajj, the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. You should take a ghusl if you can. Purify yourself, cleanse yourself, have a good bath. And make your niyyah for Hajj. Labbaik Allahumma hajjan, Ya Allah, here I am for Hajj. And then you wear your ihram. You will perform Salatul Fajr in your hotel or in the haram or wherever you're staying. And then after that, you will move to Mina. Okay? You should try to reach Mina, which is the tent city right there by Mecca. You should try to reach Mina before Salatul Dhuhr. If you can reach there, like in the morning sometime, maybe 11 o'clock, 11:30, something like that, that's good. So try to reach there before Salatul Dhuhr. And basically it's a day where you don't have so much to do. You go there, you settle yourself in your tent. When the time for Salatul Dhuhr comes, pray Salatul Dhuhr, but you can shorten it. Instead of praying 4 rak'at, you will pray 2 rak'at. Then when the time for Salatul Asr comes, also you can shorten it and pray 2 rak'at instead of 4. When the time for Salatul Maghrib comes, pray 3 rak'at of Maghrib. When the time for Isha comes, pray 2 rak'at shortened of Isha. Then you can go to sleep. Then you wake up in the morning and you pray Salatul Fajr. Okay, so basically you're going to pray 5 prayers in Mina. Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha, and then the next day, Fajr. Right? So it's a light day. There's not much to do on the first day of Hajj. So all of these prayers will be prayed on their times. You do not combine any of these prayers. So pray Dhuhr at Dhuhr time, Asr at Asr time, Maghrib at Maghrib time, Isha at Isha time, Fajr at Fajr time. But for the 4 rak'at prayers, you can shorten them to 2 rak'at. All right. So this is basically how the tents look at Mina, right? They're pretty nice tents. They're air conditioned. They are carpeted. They're pretty comfortable actually, right? So this is basically an outer view of the tents of Mina. They're fireproof as well because About 21 years ago, 1997, there was a very big fire in Mina when it was just regular tents and they were not fireproof, and it was a huge disaster. Lots of people died. So from the next year, or from a couple of years after that, I think the first year they made these fireproof tents, it was 99. So then, things have been better since then, alhamdulillah. So you'll stay there on the day of the 8th, you'll pray Fajr on the day of the 9th, and then you will leave. After Salat al-Fajr, then you'll get ready to leave to go to Arafat. Okay, so you pray Fajr at Mina on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, and then you will move to Arafat. And you move to Arafat in a dignified way. Again, you don't shout and you don't push people. There will be big crowds and stuff like that, but be patient and be calm and move towards Arafat. The 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafat, is the most important day of Hajj, because the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Hajju Arafah. Hajj is Arafah. If you missed the Arafah, khalas, there's no Hajj. So this is the most important day. So you move to Arafat in a dignified manner. You will probably reach there sometime in the morning before Salat al-Dhuhr. You might reach there at like about 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning, right? When the time for Salat al-Dhuhr comes, then pray Dhuhr and Asr together. You should combine here. In Arafat, you combine. You pray Dhuhr and Asr and you shorten both of them. So 2 rakat of Dhuhr and 2 rakat of Asr. So in Arafat, you combine and shorten Dhuhr and Asr, and you pray them at the time of Dhuhr. And then you have what we call the wuquf of Arafat. This is the best opportunity that you will have to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't waste the day of Arafat. Try not to sleep and waste any type of time. Make sure that you utilize every second in Arafat. This is literally the best place and the best time that you can make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the likelihood that your dua will be accepted. So don't waste even 1 minute of your time. Make dua the whole time that you're there. Don't get tired of making dua on the day of Arafat. So you'll be there the whole day, basically. For people who are not making Hajj, it is sunnah to fast on the day of Arafat. So if you're not making Hajj, then it's sunnah to fast on this day. And the reward for fasting on the day of Arafat is that a person's previous year's sin and the following year's sins are forgiven. So it's a great reward. Fasting one day and you have 2 years worth of sins forgiven. But as for a person who is making Hajj, then it is recommended not to fast. You shouldn't fast because you want to have your energy so you can make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alright, so this is basically how Arafat looks. It's a big plain, right? There is a masjid in Arafat, it's called Masjid Nimr. And this masjid, there will be a sermon that is preached from this masjid, usually by the Mufti of Saudi Arabia. And that's usually in the morning before Salat al-Dhuhr. He will give a khutbah there. You don't have to go there. You don't have to attend that khutbah. It's not obligatory. Usually, I think they have a radio station where it is actually broadcasted on. So if you have a phone with you that has a radio app, you could listen to it from your tent if you want to. But it's not obligatory to go and listen to the khutbah at the masjid. It's not even obligatory to listen to the khutbah at all if you don't want to. It's fine. But there is a khutbah that is done from this masjid. All right. So you spend the whole day of Arafat making dua as much as you can. When the sun sets after Maghrib time, that means it's Maghrib time, but you don't pray Maghrib here. Don't pray Maghrib in Arafat. So it's Maghrib time, but delay your Maghrib, don't pray Maghrib, and then you start moving to Muzdalifah. After the sun sets, you leave Arafat and you go to Muzdalifah. Now Muzdalifah, like I mentioned, it doesn't have any tents. It's just an open piece of land, and you will only spend one night there. You'll not spend the day there. You'll only spend the night there. So after sunset in Arafat, you move to Muzdalifah. In Muzdalifah, once you reach Muzdalifah, then you will pray Maghrib and Isha there. Even if the time of Maghrib is finished, no problem. If it's Isha time, that's okay, because you're combining your prayers anyways. So pray Maghrib and Isha at Muzdalifah when you reach Muzdalifah. You pray 3 rak'ats of Maghrib and 2 rak'at of Isha. So you will combine them together and you will shorten Isha. And then you spend the night in Muzdalifah. So Muzdalifah, you will just spend one night there. So try to sleep during that night. If you can, from Muzdalifah, pick up some pebbles, because you're going to start needing the pebbles, the little stones, for the next day. So if you want to pick those pebbles up at Mina, the first day of Hajj on the 8th, if you find the pebbles there, you can pick it up. If you didn't pick it up in Mina on the first day of Hajj, then you can pick it up now at Muzdalifah. So try to find 49 pebbles at least. Try to find 49 pebbles and pick them up, because that's the least amount you're going to need. You're going to need 49. And if you're staying for the extra day of Hajj, like Hajj can end on the 12th of Dhul Hijjah or the 13th of Dhul Hijjah. And we'll talk about that in a minute, inshallah. So if you're planning to stay until the 12th only, then you will need 49 pebbles. But if you're planning to stay that extra day, then you will need 21 more. So you'll need a total of 70, right? So pick up either 49 or 70, depending on how long you're planning to stay. And we'll talk about the end of Hajj and who can leave on the 12th and who should stay until the 13th. We'll talk about that in a minute, inshallah. So pick up your pebbles. And we'll talk about these numbers. Why do you need 49? Or why do you need 21 extra if you're staying for the extra day? We'll talk about that in a minute, inshallah. So basically, this is how Muzdalifah looks. No tents. It's just an open land and, people just sleeping on the ground, basically. All right, so yeah. In Muzdalifah or Mina, if you want to, try to pick up your pebbles. All right. So you slept at Muzdalifah, and now the next morning is the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. The 10th of Dhul Hijjah is a very busy day for the Hujjaj. A lot of stuff that you need to do on this day, right? It is known as Yawmun Nahr. It is the day of the sacrifice. It is, for us who are not performing Hajj, it is the day of Eid, Al-Adha, right? So what are you going to do on the 10th? You will pray Fajr at Muzdalifah. So you spent the night of the 9th, you spent that night in Muzdalifah, then you wake up, you pray Salatul Fajr. After Salatul Fajr, you can move over to Mina. Out of those stones that you collected, remember you collected 49 stones, right? Out of these stones that you collected, you will go to Mina and you will go to the Jamarat. The Jamarat, they are 3 pillars in Mina that you have to throw stones at. There are 3 of them. There's Jamratul Ula and Jamratul Wusta and Jamratul Kubra, also known as Jamratul Aqaba. So on the 10th day of Dhul Hijjah, you only need to stone one of these pillars, not all 3, only one of them, the big one, which is called Jamratul Kubra or Jamratul Aqaba. So you will not do anything with the first 2 on this day, you will only go to the big one, okay? The main one, Jamratul Aqaba or Jamratul Kubra. So you will go to this Jamra, this pillar there in Mina, and you will stone it with 7 stones. You will stone it with 7 stones. Okay? So with each throw, you take your stone and you say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Okay? So say Allahu Akbar as you throw each stone. The stones are small stones, just like the size of a chickpea, for example. Some people, when they go there, they get very emotional, right? They think that this is actually Iblis himself. This is the shaitan himself. So this is my chance to actually beat up the shaitan. You will see amazing things here. You'll see people taking off their shoes and throwing at it. There was actually a guy who had a hammer and he jumped on the pillar and he started breaking it with the hammer, right? They really think this is the shaitan himself and they want to attack the shaitan or they want to kill the shaitan. But no, it's more of a symbolic thing actually, right? So don't go over the bounds like this, don't exaggerate like this. Do what the Prophet ﷺ told you to do. Just take these small stones and calmly throw them at the pillar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. 7 stones. You're done. Okay? Don't do it from too far away. That's another mistake people make. Some people, maybe the pillar is actually where the door of the masjid is and they're throwing their stone from here. Allahu Akbar, Allah. It's not going to hit the target. Okay? So you have to be close enough where you're actually hitting it. So be careful about that. These days it's a pretty safe thing to do, alhamdulillah. In the old days, yes, that was the place. That was probably the most dangerous part of Hajj in the past, because people would get trampled and it was very small space and it wasn't organized very well. Every year you would hear about a lot of people dying there during the stoning. But we haven't heard anything like that, alhamdulillah, for the past maybe 10 years, because they really changed the the logistics of it, and they organized it in a much better way. Now it's pretty safe to go ahead and do it, inshallah. So there's no problem with that. Get close to it, close enough so you can actually hit it with your stones, and throw your 7 stones. With each stone, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. 7 stones, and you're done with your stoning for this day, for the 10th. Right? So remember, you had 49 stones. Right? Now you use 7 stones. So now you have 42 stones remaining. 42 stones remaining. All right. If possible, you can throw your stones with this type of an orientation. With Mina on your right side and Mecca on your left side, you throw the stones. Actually, it's a circular type of thing, right? So you'll see people like all around from every side. So there will be people facing like this too. With instead of Mina on the right, Mina will be on the left, and Mecca will be on the right. It's fine, no problem. But if you can, because this is better and this is more in accordance with the Sunnah, if you're able to do it, then try to do it with this type of position, with Mina to your right and Mecca to your left. All right, so this is basically the area of the Jamarat. You see that it is very crowded, right? And that is where the stoning takes place, under those bridges. All right, this is also the day of the sacrifice. We said it's Yawmun Nahr. So like we said, it's a very busy day. The 10th day of Dhul Hijjah is the busiest day for the Hujjaj. So you went and you did you left Muzdalifah, you went back to Mina, you did your stoning. You also have to sacrifice your animal. If you want to do this yourself, no problem, you can do it. There is actually a slaughterhouse there. You can go and actually buy a goat or a sheep. You can slaughter the animal yourself if you would like to do that. But most Hajj groups in the price that you pay for your Hajj package, this is included in it actually. So they take care of that for you. So you don't have to do anything actually. They will do it for you, right? So that is the sacrifice. Okay, so you did these are the things you're doing on the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. Like we said, really busy day. So you left Muzdalifah, you went and you stoned Jamratul Aqaba 7 times, you sacrificed your animal. Once you sacrifice your animal, then you can cut your hair. You're going to be out of Ihram now. You can get out of your Ihram again. So you cut your hair, you're out of your Ihram, and you can wear your regular clothes. Once you wear your regular clothes, then you go to Masjid al-Haram again. You go to the Kaaba again to make your tawaf of Hajj, to make the actual tawaf of Hajj. The tawaf and sa'i that you made before, that was the tawaf and sa'i of Umrah. Now today, you're going to make your tawaf and sa'i of Hajj. And this tawaf and sa'i of Hajj, it's not with Ihram. This is with your normal clothes. This is actually with your normal clothes, because you're out of Ihram now. Once you stoned the Jamratul Aqaba and you sacrifice your animal, you cut your hair, now you're out of Ihram. You wear your regular clothes, you go to Mecca, you go to the Haram, you go to the Kaaba with your normal clothes, and you make your tawaf. And you also do your sa'i. This is going to be with regular clothes, no ihram. So you go and you do tawaf and you do sa'i just the same way how you did it with Umrah. The same rules, right? Except for the men, like we mentioned, when you made your tawaf of Umrah, you had your ihram under your shoulder, right? But now you're not in ihram, you're wearing regular clothes, so that doesn't apply. Also the ramal, like the jogging, that doesn't apply either. The tawaf of Hajj, you're with your regular clothes, just a regular tawaf all the way around. You don't have to do any jogging or anything like that. So you can see it's a busy day. This is a really busy day. The busiest day for the person who is performing Hajj. You did all of these things. You stoned the Jamratul Aqaba, you sacrifice your animal, you shave your hair, you remove your ihram, you wear regular clothes, you go to Mecca, you make tawaf, you make sa'i, and then you're done for the day. When you made your tawaf and sa'i, then you go back again to Mina. You go back again to Mina and you will spend the night there in Mina. All right? And now you're more comfortable, obviously, now because you're in regular clothes. And the restrictions of ihram, they are lifted from you. So now you can relax. You go back to Mina and you spend the night in Mina. All right. The next day, the next morning, the 11th of Dhul Hijjah, you'll get up in the morning, you pray Salat al-Fajr like regular, right? Then after the Zawal, meaning after the time of Salat al-Dhuhr, not before Dhuhr. This has to be after Dhuhr. If you do it before Dhuhr, it won't count. So be careful about this. After the time of Salat al-Dhuhr, you will go to the Jamarat again. On the 11th of Dhul Hijjah, you will go to the Jamarat, you will go to those pillars, those stoning pillars again. after dhuhr. And this time you're not going to stone only one of them, but you're going to stone all three of them. You're going to stone all three of them. You'll start with the smallest one, Jamratul Ula. Then you'll go to the middle one, Jamratul Wusta. Then you'll go to the big one, Jamratul Kubra or Jamratul Aqaba. So you're going to stone 3 pillars today on the 11th. So you go to Jamratul Ula, the first one, and you stone it 7 times. Then you go to the middle one, Jamratul Wusta, again 7 times. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Then you go to the big one, and this is the same one that you had already done the day before, Jamratul Kubra. And you do 7 times. So how many stones did you use today? 7, 7, 7. 21 stones. And how many stones you used the day before? 7. So now total, how many stones have you used? 28 stones. And you collected 49, right? So how many do you have remaining? You used 28. So how many you have left with you now? 21. You have 21 stones remaining, okay? So you'll need those 21 stones for the next day, right? So you do that after dhuhr. You stone these 3 jamarat. Then you go back to your tent and you relax. You pray all of your prayers on time. Don't combine any prayers, but you can shorten the prayers. Dhuhr you'll pray 2 rak'at, Asr 2 rak'at, Maghrib 3, Isha 2, right? So you relax. And then you go to sleep. And that's the 11th of Dhul Hijjah. The next day, all right, the next day is the 12th of Dhul Hijjah. And this can be the last day of Hajj for you, if you want. Or if you want, you can stay an extra day. If you want the 12th of Dhul Hijjah to be your last day of Hajj, that's fine. If you want to stay an extra day, you can, and that is also fine. The actions that you do on the 12th day of Dhul Hijjah are exactly the same as the actions that you do on the 11th day. There's no difference. So what did you do on the 11th day? You prayed Fajr. Then after the time of Dhuhr, you went and you stoned 3 of those pillars, each one 7 times. You used 21 stones. The 12th, you're going to do the exact same thing. You'll pray Salatul Fajr. After the time of Salatul Dhuhr, you will go again to those jamarat, to those pillars. And you will stone each one 7 times. Jamratul Ula 7 times, Jamratul Wusta 7 times, and Jamratul Kubra 7 times. So how many stones you used today now? 21. That's it. Your stones are finished now. Your stones are finished. So that's why you needed to collect 49 stones. 7 for the first day for Jamratul Kubra, and then 21 for the next day for Al-Ula and Wusta and Kubra, and then 21 also for the 12th of Dhul Hijjah as well, for a total of 49 stones. Okay, once you did this, once you stoned the Jamarat on the 12th of Dhul Hijjah, if you want, your Hajj is finished. That's it. You can go back now to your hotel and your Hajj is finished. Alhamdulillah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept. If you would like, you can also stay for an extra day. This is optional if you want to stay for an extra day. And then if you stay for an extra day, then the 13th day, if you stay for that extra day, then the 13th day will be exactly the same as the 12th day and as the 11th day. Same thing again. So you will need, if you're planning to stay for that extra day, you will need an extra 21 stones as well. So instead of 49, you would collect 70 stones. So then on the 13th day, you pray Salatul Fajr, wait until Salatul Dhuhr. When the time of Salatul Dhuhr comes, after the time comes in, go again to the Jamarat. And 7 to Jamratul Ula, 7 to Jamratul Wusta, and 7 to Jamratul Aqaba. And then you are finished with Hajj and you go to your home. That is how Hajj ends. An important point, if you are planning to leave on the 12th, if you're not planning to stay the extra day, if you're planning to leave on the 12th, make sure that you leave Mina before Maghrib time comes in. Because if you're still in Mina when Maghrib time comes in on the 12th, then you have to stay for the extra day. So if you're planning to leave on the 12th, make sure you leave before Maghrib. Because if you're still there and Maghrib time comes, then you can't leave. You have to stay until the next day, and you have to stone the Jamarat again on the 13th, and then you can go. So that's an important point to remember as well. All right, regarding the Jamarat and the stoning of these Jamarat, here are some special points to remember. Use small pebbles. Don't get these big rocks and your shoes and Pepsi bottles and stuff like that. No, don't do that. Just small pebbles, chickpea-sized pebbles. Try to get close to the jamrah. Like I said, get close enough where you will actually be hitting it. Don't be so far away that you will miss the target. Don't hurt other people in the process. This was a place, like I mentioned in the past, it used to be a place where a lot of people would get hurt and a number of people would actually die in this place. So don't hurt other people in the process. Don't throw bottles, shoes, and any of these type of things. Don't bend down in the crowd. Same thing like we mentioned for tawaf. If you bend down to pick something up, it could be dangerous. A person can be trampled, so you have to be very careful about that. And ensure that you throw your stones within the boundary. Ensure that you're actually hitting your target. If you're too far away, then you're just going to be throwing the stone anywhere. It really won't hit the target, and this is something that wouldn't be appropriate. So make sure that you're at the right location and you're throwing everything in the right place. All right. You may proxy for others. If someone is with you in Hajj and this person is weak and they're not able to do the stoning for themselves, then they can appoint someone else to do it for them. So for example, let's say you're going with your grandfather, for example, and he can't even hardly walk and stuff. So no problem. You can take care of the stoning for him. You can do it on his behalf. He can relax in the tent and you can stone on your behalf first and then stone on whoever you need to stone on their behalf. But don't do it out of an unreasonable fear. Okay, if you're strong and healthy, you go and do it yourself. Don't just be too afraid that, I'm afraid something might happen. Don't think like that. But if someone is legitimately really weak and not able to do it, then that's okay. Okay? But if you're able to do it, even for men and women, go ahead and do it for yourself, and that's better, inshallah. All right, so basically that's the end of Hajj. Now you finish your Umrah and you finish your Hajj, alhamdulillah. Before you leave Mecca, there's one more thing you need to do, and that is called Tawaf al-Wada'. Tawaf al-Wada'. That's literally the farewell tawaf, like you're saying goodbye to the Kaaba. Allah invited you to His house, you spent a good time there, and now it's time for you to leave, so you have to say farewell to the Kaaba. So this is called Tawaf al-Wada'. So it's a regular tawaf, and you're with your regular clothes, no ihram or anything like that. You're in your regular clothes, and you do the regular 7 circuits just like you did before. So you will do your 7 circuits, no sa'i. There is no going between Safa and Marwa, it's only tawaf. Okay, and when you finish that tawaf, you do your 2 rak'ats behind Maqam Ibrahim, and it should be the last thing you do before leaving Mecca. You should delay this, the Tawaf al-Wada', to be the final thing you do before you leave Mecca. So for example, if you know that you're leaving Mecca, you're still going to be in Mecca for another 5 days, for example. I finished my Hajj and now I'm in Mecca for 5 more days. I will not go and do my Tawaf al-Wada' today, no. Because I'm going to be in Mecca for 5 more days. So I should make sure that the Tawaf al-Wada' should be like the last thing that I do before I leave. Try to delay it up to the end of your stay. So for example, let's say I'm leaving today at Maghrib. Okay? So I will go and make my Tawaf al-Wada' maybe today after Dhuhr. Or after Asr, maybe the time might be too tight. Right? So, but if I went after Dhuhr, for example, like, okay, I'm leaving after Maghrib, so I have to get ready and everything, I'll make my Tawaf al-Wada' after Dhuhr, and then I'm going to go in 2 hours, for example. That's fine. No problem. Okay? So just basically the important point is delay it towards the end of your stay in Mecca. It should be one of the last things that you do while you're in Mecca. Once you perform Tawaf al-Wada', you should leave Mecca. All right, so this is basically a map of the pilgrim's route. So you're coming from your country, you're coming from America, for example. Let's say this is your miqat, meaning this is the boundary that you cannot pass before you wear your ihram. So you will wear your ihram here or before here. You can wear it before here or at here. Then you will come and you will make your umrah, right? And then when the time for Hajj comes, you will go to Mina, right? Then the next day, after the first day of Hajj, which is the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, the next day, which is the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, you will go from Mina to Arafat. Then the next day, you will go, or that night actually, the night of Arafat, you will go back to Muzdalifah and spend the night there. Then the next day you will go back to Mina and you will do your Jamarat and you will spend the rest of your Hajj here in Mina. And once you finish your Hajj, you will go back, and the last thing that you'll do is you'll go back to the Haram and you will make your Tawaf al-Wada' and then you will leave. So this is basically the journey of the Hujjaj. All right. So now basically we will briefly go over the Arkan of Hajj. The Arkan of Al-Hajj means the things about Hajj. If you don't do it, then there's no Hajj for you. So there are things that cannot be replaced, that must be done. So these are the arkan of Hajj. Ihram. So ihram basically means the intention that you are doing Hajj. Okay, ihram means you are making the intention that you're doing Hajj, and certain things become haram on you when you are in the state of ihram. So ihram is one of the arkan al-Hajj. Staying in Arafah, that is one of the arkan of Hajj. Meaning if you missed it, if you missed the stay in Arafah, there's no Hajj. Your Hajj is not Hajj then. Doing tawaf and sa'i, the tawaf of Hajj and the sa'i of Hajj, these are also arkan. If somebody went for Hajj and they did everything, but they didn't do tawaf and sa'i, then their Hajj is not complete. So these are things that must be done. And without these things, your Hajj is not complete and not valid. Now these things are the wajibat al-Hajj. Wajibat means these are obligatory. These are obligatory, but if you missed it for some reason, you can correct that mistake by sacrificing an animal. So for example, ihram from the miqat. This is wajib. So if somebody passed the miqat and they wore the ihram later when they got to Jeddah or when they got to Mecca even, then this is a mistake, but they can correct that mistake and their Hajj will still be valid. They just have to sacrifice an animal. Staying in Arafat until sunset. Staying in Arafat in general, this is a rukun. Without Arafat, there's no Hajj. But it is wajib to stay until sunset. Don't leave Arafat before the sun sets. If somebody went to Arafat, but he left Arafat before the sun set, maybe he prayed Asr and then he left, for example, then he made a mistake. But his Hajj is still valid because he stayed in Arafat, but because he didn't stay the complete time that he was supposed to stay, this is a mistake, so he has to correct that mistake by sacrificing an animal. Staying in Muzdalifah, the night that you stay in Muzdalifah. After Arafat, that night you will go and spend in Muzdalifah. This is also wajib. If somebody didn't stay in Muzdalifah for some reason, then that is a mistake, but your Hajj is still valid and you'll have to sacrifice an animal to correct that mistake. And then of course, spending the nights of Tashriq in Mina. The nights of Tashriq are the 11th and the 12th and the 13th. Those last 3 days of Hajj. The 11th, the 12th and 13th. They are called Ayyamut Tashriq. And you should spend those days or those nights in Mina. If you didn't spend the night in Mina during those nights, then you have missed something that is wajib of Hajj, and to correct that, you will have to sacrifice an animal to correct that mistake. Also, stoning of the pillars. The stoning of Jamratul Kubra on the first day, and then on the second day, Jamratul Ula and Jamratul Wusta and Jamratul Kubra, and then on the next day also Jamratul Ula and Jamratul Wusta and Jamratul Kubra. All of these stonings, this is wajib. This is an obligatory part of Hajj. If you missed it for some reason, then what do you have to do to correct that? You have to sacrifice an animal, all right? Shaving or cutting the hair. This is also wajib, right? If you didn't do that for some reason, then you have to sacrifice an animal. And tawaf al-wada', the final farewell tawaf before leaving Mecca. If somebody didn't do that farewell tawaf and they left Mecca without doing tawaf al-wada', then they will have to sacrifice an animal to correct that mistake as well. And as we mentioned, the hadi, or the sacrifice of Hajj, this is obligatory for a person who is doing Hajj Tamattu' or Hajj al-Qiran. And as I mentioned, most of you will most likely be doing Hajj Tamattu', so the hadi or the sacrifice is obligatory for you. And I believe that most of the Hajj packages, they include that in their price. So that is already taken care of for you. All right, so that basically takes care of the rites and the rituals of Hajj. And for those of you who are going for Hajj this year, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it from you, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow you to do it easily, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow you to do it in the correct way. And we ask you to make dua for us as well while you are there. And for those who are not going for Hajj this year, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to facilitate it for you in the coming years, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. We have refreshments outside for the men and for the women, inshallah. We have some donuts and croissants and some juice and stuff. So feel free to enjoy that, inshallah. جزاكم الله خير for coming. بارك الله فيكم. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.